Hey everyone, Mr. Wineland here, as I'm going to be talking about Chapter 4, going into the Louisiana Purchase. We're going to be talking a little bit about what occurred in getting the Louisiana Purchase, and then also talking about what did that do for, excuse me, the growth the growth of the United States. So we're going to jump into it and make sure to look for the numbers and also anything that's for definitions. But what we understand when it comes to Louisiana Purchase is that Louisiana, that whole area, what we're talking about is not just the state of Louisiana, but we're talking about Missouri, we're talking about Arkansas, we're talking about Iowa, we're talking about Minnesota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, the Dakotas. The area was under the control of the French at one point in time. Napoleon Bonaparte in 1799 was able to regain those lands in North America as well as certain parts of Europe as he was trying to build his empire. And the Treaty of San Ildefonso allowed Spain to give back Louisiana to France. Thomas Jefferson saw this and he looked for an opportunity to maybe trade security. He did not want to buy all of Louisiana. He just wanted to buy the port of New Orleans, like a small sliver, excuse me, a small sliver of Louisiana, and really much to be part of the Gulf of Mexico and have that opportunity. So he sent Robert Livingston to France to make this deal, and Robert Livingston went there. And tried to buy it, but unfortunately he was failed. He wasn't the best negotiator. But we see in 1802 a stroke of luck would ultimately happen for the United States because the French were dealing with the revolution of Haiti. And that is your answer. Number two is revolution of Haiti right here. Haiti was basically trying to fight for their freedom, and the French were obviously trying to fight them off and do their best to secure their lands. And ultimately what ended up happening is that the French got got the yellow fever epidemic, and we see that this epidemic really caused a lot of their soldiers to die or were ill, and so they had to reallocate resources in order to secure Haiti. This became a problem. Excuse me. Oh, goodness. Why am I yawning? I don't know. But we see that Napoleon needed to earn some money, earn some cash quickly in order to kind of be able to finish up the job and get those resources needed. And so Haiti's revolution would change the future of Louisiana because Napoleon is now going to the United States and going, hey, you remember when you offered me money for the port of New Orleans? Do you guys want it again? And so in 1803, he offered to sell it to us for $15 million instead of the $2 million. But instead of the port of New Orleans, it was all of Louisiana. And Jefferson, to secure this payment, doesn't just send Robert Livingston, he sends in the future president, James Monroe, to go with Robert to finish off the job. And by doing so, they were able to secure all of New Orleans. So your answer number 7 is right here. And so with the Louisiana Purchase, this is ultimately going to be able to build the future of the United States because we've pretty much, at that point in time, doubled our size of the United States of America. And so we were able to grow our country even more and also provide a lot more economic opportunity in the future. So one of the first moves that Thomas Jefferson does is to put General James Wilkinson in a position as the first governor of the District of Louisiana. And so we see Oklahoma is at first a part of that part of the of Louisiana. It isn't until we explore more of that vast area that we see that we'll change Oklahoma into part of the district of or the territory of Arkansas in 1819. But St. Louis is the capital of Louisiana. All right, so number 9 is right here. The expedition to explore the Louisiana Purchase, and then number 10 is right there, Corps of Discovery. So this is such a vast land that we've just inherited. So in 1803, Thomas Jefferson is wanting to explore this land. What is out there? What's available? So he calls on Congress and says, "Hey, I need some funds. Can you please lend me some funds to go explore this area?" And so he counts on Meriwether Lewis, commander, along with William Clark, and they're sent out to explore the Louisiana Purchase, and are able to go across and try to figure out what is out there. The expedition was called the Corps of Discovery, began in 1804, team venturing through the Mississippi River, and then they would continue to set out on a keelboat as they would move further west as well. We see that the group, would ultimately reach the Pacific Ocean. They had traveled 4,000 miles and back. We see in 1806 they is when they returned. Lewis became the governor of Louisiana. Clark would ultimately be the Indian agent of the West and later governor of the Missouri Territory. Now we see President Jefferson is also interested in other expeditions. He is wanting to see what else is out there, what else had Lewis and Clark not discovered. And so he is going to go to Congress and try to set out and establish more expeditions, but mostly to establish boundaries, to kind of figure out where can we split the United States. And so he goes to Congress, and they appoint $5,000 for the Great Excursion, which was to explore the southwestern part of Louisiana Purchase, which is part of your answer number. That's your answer number 3 right here. Just this whole line right here. Oh, sorry, Louisiana Purchase is your answer number 3. Your definition for William Dunbar is right there in the blue. So if you would write that down in the blue. So William Dunbar and George Hunter were heading out as a team. They would ultimately not complete this expedition. They would run into some problems. They went up the Washita River in Louisiana and into Arkansas, but not up to the Red River. We see that Captain Richard Sparks and Thomas Freeman, and we would see that Peter Custis led the journey into the Red River, and they had a little bit more detailed notes about this area. We do see that the expedition was stopped by the Spanish army near the edge of Oklahoma. The Sparks decided to turn back, but they did gather enough information to help with that, at least what Jefferson wanted. So although the formal expedition was unsuccessful, we do see that private traders did make their inroads into the southwestern part of Louisiana. So that's part of your answer number 4 right there. So eventually this area would be discovered, and Thomas Jefferson would be able to get the information that he needed. Your definition for Pike, Zebulon Pike, is right here. Zebulon Pike basically would explore the upper Mississippi region in 1805, followed with another 1806 in the Arkansas and Red Rivers. Lieutenant James Wilkinson led a part of Pike's group to explore the Arkansas River, and Wilkinson's team survived winter hardships and shared information about the Osage, the Cherokee, Choctaw, and the Creek. We would see that Pike would want to continue forward. He obviously did not want to just stop there. They were able to successfully talk to some of the native tribes and get them to replace the Spanish flag with the American flag. But we would see that Pike would want to move further, and he goes into the Rocky Mountains, which ultimately he finds Pike's Peak, one of the mountains there, and ultimately, though, is running to the Spanish and is arrested by the Spanish soldiers and held in 1807. Your definition to George Sylvia is right here, all in the blue. I'm sorry, it's a long definition, but anyway. So the Sylvia Expedition, more expeditions here that we're talking about. Salt was obviously a big commodity. People needed it for preserving some food, tanning hides. So George C. Sylvia sent to search for rumored Salt Mountain in 1811. He would explore Nebraska, Kansas, and into parts of Oklahoma. He would describe the grain saline as 20 miles of salt and 2 to 6 inches deep. Also found salt near the Cimarron River and along the Salt Fork of the Arkansas River. So the Sylvia Expedition was pretty successful in its ability to explore things. Main thing is that Jefferson really wanted to know more about the salt mountains in this area and of the plains in this region as well. So, but we do see that the Great Salt Plains was known to the Osage in this area. Okay, your definition for Stephen H. Long is right there. We see Long expedition. Stephen H. Long would lead 5 expeditions, about 26,000 miles long, 2 strips into Oklahoma. We would see that he had a lot of success in his endeavors, led by the U.S. Corps of Topographical Engineers. This was also a part of the War Department. Decided to establish a military post in the western boundaries of the Arkansas Territory to address with certain hostilities with the Osage and other tribes. Established Fort Smith, and where Arkansas and the Potomac River meet. Expeditions along the Red and Arkansas rivers into Nebraska. We see the return a lot of information about plant life, animal life, and geography around that area. Also called the area the Great American Desert and determined unsuitable for farming in this region. Okay, the Louisiana Purchase had come without firm boundaries, but the Adams-Onis Treaty of 1819, which is your answer number 11 is Adams-Onis, resolved the issue. John Quincy Adams, Louis de Onis from Spain worked together on the treaty. The Spain and Florida were then sent to, Florida was sent to U.S. for $5 million. Boundary between Texas and Louisiana at the Sabine River was established. And then Spain claimed all the lands south of the Red River and along the various lines of the Pacific Ocean. Your definition for Major William Bradford right here. So the Spain gave claims up for Oregon Territory as well. We see Major William Bradford was ordered to expel people illegally entering eastern Oklahoma. We see that Thomas Nuttall was joined the group to document plants and animals of the region. We see he was impressed with a lot of what he found in this land. All right. Then there's the Three Forks area. Your answer number 6 is just Three Forks area, but there's another one for number 6, so be ready. We do see that most of this area is for trading, which is answer number 12. Post established at the meeting at the Arkansas, Verdigris, and Grand Rivers in the Three Forks area. Nearby Osage villages traded fur, fowl, honey, bear oil, buffalo robes, beads, blankets, knives, and trinkets. This whole answer right here, this whole point right here is your answer number 5. If you need to pause to write it down, go right ahead. But Colonel A.P. Chodo and Joseph Reservoir established the established the Osage Outfit trading post just north of Salina Creek in this region of the area. A lot of waterways in this area. A lot of trapping is in this area, but definitely a big popular area. Then there's the we've got the game became scarce in this area, so fur trade was slow. But in eastern Oklahoma by 1830s, but salt, lead, pecans, and grain were exported into the Three Forks area. We do see that agriculture was not a big part in this region, so trade was a big important thing. Western Creek exported dried peaches, beans, peanuts, snake root, sarsaparilla, ginseng, and corn and rice. All right, your answer to another answer number 6 is Santa Fe. You have to write them is Santa Fe. So other routes for trading that was established, we would see that Mexico had won its independence from Spain in 1821, which traders to the north hoped this could open up trade with Santa Fe and other settlements. We would see that Thomas James, Hugh Glenn, and Nathan Pryor led groups from St. Louis to Santa Fe to establish trade connections. We would see that this would open up the door to send people down to help establish a sort of connection with the tribes, but also trade, and also too they would also help establish settlements down there as well. William Bucknell established a trade route that became known as the Santa Fe Trail. Hundreds of people in wagons began to move westward, and this started a rapid change and changing the region for the American Indians. But that's going to do it for chapter 4. We didn't have much to cover, but we're done with chapter 4, and we got chapter 5, section 1 and 2 coming up. See ya.